Hey, buddy. Rightio. Max, if you want to unmute yourself.
I do want to unmute myself.
Amazing.
Yes.
All right. Well, there's quite a few people already. Impressive.
Oh, Matt's dad's here. That's dangerous.
Yeah. That's pretty much conversation already made. Sorted. Okay. Rightio. Well, hello, everyone. We'll just go over a couple of things real quick. I think for now, there's quite a lot of people coming in. If you guys just make sure you keep your mics muted, and if you have a...
How do I unmute? Hello. Oh, wait, where did he go?
Right, I'm gonna take the initiative and mute that myself. Rightio, guys. So, yeah, if everyone just stays muted for the time being, if you have a question, just stick it in the chat. We're gonna go over.
I have a question.
Okay, I'm gonna mute you again, Dan. He's making it difficult already. Yeah, so we will just go over a couple of things and then we'll kind of open it up. But if you have any questions, just stick them in the side in the group chat, and then yeah, we'll go from there. So I guess we'll start by introducing ourselves. I am Chris Stewart. I'm one of the testies at NZ Aerosports. Currently quarantined in my room for the foreseeable future. So that's why we're doing stuff like this. I guess my background, I have around 8,000 jumps. I have represented New Zealand on international swooping for the last 7 or so years. And I've competed and done project work with both Max Mano, Matt Leonard, and also Tom, the beautiful creature, Baker. There he is. So next we have Max Mano. Max is going to say a little bit about himself.
Hi. Hi, I'm Max. I'm from the Red Bull Skydive team, currently quarantined in Switzerland, but sort of, I guess, everywhere around the world, jumping when we jump, if we ever get to jump again. And also part of the Flock and Flow thing that you've probably heard about a little bit already that we're going to talk about as well. I'm a competitor as well. And that's pretty much it. I have about 7,500 jumps maybe. And yeah, that's it.
What do you mean maybe? You don't log? Come on.
I'm working on it. I'm working on it.
And next we have, because they're in the same window, Matt Leonard and Tom Baker.
My name is Matt Leonard from Boston, Mass. I'm jumping for like 10 years. Also a competitor with Max and Chris in kind of like some of the world events. Not so much, except in the last year at freestyle. Tom's been doing that for a few years now. But also just started Flock and Flow as a group with Max and Tom, and now we're just here to answer some questions.
Lovely. Hello, everybody. I'm Tom Baker, over here in North Carolina at the moment, originally from Minnesota, USA. Got a little over 12,000 jumps. Currently working with Paraclete XP and getting this Flock and Flow thing started.
Awesome. Cool, guys. Well, with that, seeing as we've spoken a bit about Flock and Flow, we'll probably start with that. So I guess, like, let's just start by, for some people who may not know, most people should know, you'd like to think, but what is Flock and Flow, Matt and Tom? Like, what are we doing?
Flock and Flow, the concept behind it was a couple of years ago, we kind of thought about the idea of making flocking a little bit more dynamic. So taking some of the concepts that are used in the tunnel as well as in dynamic angle groups and kind of applying them to canopy flight. So that kind of idea spawned about just under 2 years ago. And then last year we decided to kind of follow through with it. And we started our first camp last year in October at Paraclete XP. And it was a pretty good success. So now we did our second one just at Skydive City in Florida, just right before everyone started quarantining, at least here in the U.S. Yeah, now we hope to see him and bring him to all around the world.
Yeah, for sure, man. That one was awesome. I was there. Max was obviously also there. It's pretty cool to be a part of. In terms of like, I guess with Flock and Flow, with the skill set, would you say, because I guess a lot of people see it and they see it as this high, everyone's on cross-based canopies, it's high performance, but do you find some of that skill set is sort of transferable to the everyday jumper? Yeah.
Absolutely. Like anytime you can learn this sort of finesse flying, it can improve your skills overall and make you an overall much more aware, safe, and progressive canopy pilot in any other discipline, whether you're just a typical beer line swooper, everyday videographer and instructor landing your parachute, or even up to some of the younger jumpers, just learning what the actual range and capabilities of their parachutes are can, from a safety standpoint, help them get out of hairier situations or just enjoy flying their parachute substantially more.
Yeah, awesome. With these events, I know, because you guys did send me some questions, spoiler alert, but I know there was one question that you didn't, that wasn't on there, but was asked, these events, because not everyone has thousands of jumps and flies a small cross-brace canopy. Are you guys looking to do a more sort of intermediate event where, say, people on your Crossfires and your Sabres and Katanas and whatnot, it's open to them as well?
That's I think like the long-term plan. I mean, we just kind of started with the idea, especially with involving moving groups and stuff like that. And as we piloted the concept, making sure we kind of worked with experienced pilots and such. But I mean, long-term goals for sure. We want to educate the public and educate the community on flocking and some of the piloting skills that are involved in it. And I think those skills make everyone safe, whether it comes down to flying a pattern or flying in traffic. So I think our plan eventually is to move into more intermediate style canopies like the Crossfire 3 or like the Katana or even Sabre 2s and Sapphires. But right now we're just sticking with kind of more of the high performance range. But maybe in the next year or so, we'll start to branch out.
Yeah, nice. So get the building blocks going first. There's one thing that we've talked a lot about, I guess, as competitors with Max as well. We talk about the best. You have the best swooper in the world or the best canopy pilot. I mean, I guess we talked about it quite a lot. Landing a parachute well and flying it well, say on flocking groups, are two different things, right? Do you want to, like, yeah, and like what makes a good coach is one of the things you kind of pointed out to me.
Max?
Who's the?
No, you guys are Flock and Flow.
Yeah, it's interesting because up until we basically started opening the flocking stuff more to the public, we kind of assumed ourselves as well that good canopy pilots, so what we defined up until then as a good canopy pilot, were good or potentially good flocking participants as well. So if someone can fly their parachute really well, they may be really good at whatever speed, distance, accuracy, and swooping, their overall experienced competitor. We kind of assumed that they would probably be very good at flocking as well, and very quickly found out that a lot of some of the good competitors did not bring an extra amount of, I guess, an extra amount of skill set into flocking, whereas others that have no competition experience were really good at flocking. So we kind of identified that those are two different skill sets, and so now we're seeing that, yeah, basically it basically levels the playing field a little bit. Someone who's really good competitor may have basically no experience at flocking at all, and is a very good competitor by themselves, or yeah, just in the normal competition format, but not necessarily a team player. And that's definitely what we need for flocking.
Yeah, I guess one of the other place we see it, because we all do the comp scene as well, is you see these people doing these amazing XRW jumps who are just crushing it on that side of things, but we never see them at competition. But they're, arguably some of the best at XRW in the world that we're watching. So I guess this is
many. I think there are many very good canopy pilots who don't really get the recognition for their skill set in everyday jumping because they're maybe camera flyers or just overall very aware, very people with a big skill set in canopy flying. Maybe they're good at flying a lot of different canopies as well, so they can apply their skills very well. Or they're just So I forgot the question, but
no,
yeah,
but mate, you did well. And on that note, I think it's time for a quick drink break. Here you go, lads. Cheers. If you've got a beer, for sure. Cheers to everyone.
Cheers, everybody.
Also, we don't discriminate. We also drink wine. So
We drink wine, yeah. And spirits are good as well.
all of them.
Well, I guess just before we move off from flock and flow, one of the other things, because we talk about competitive swooping a lot, it was really refreshing, I'm pretty sure, for you guys, and definitely for me when I got to join. It's not a competition, right? Like, I guess
Yes.
Matt and Tom, you can, or whoever wants to take it, but it's just about having fun.
The idea behind kind of like flock and flow, or just like flocking in general, is it's more a team-based jump, right? So like everyone's kind of dependent on everyone to kind of do their own individual jobs, as opposed to in a competitive sense when everyone's always focused about them and they're trying to showcase their skills and do a little bit better than everyone. This isn't really about showcasing your skills or showing how good of a individual pilot you are. It's about how well you can work well in a team setting and work with others, because the bigger picture of the flocking jumps is better than just one person showing their own individual skills.
Yeah.
So
awesome. Right. I've missed something as well, actually. I've just got a little reminder from the person who knows this best. If you guys have a question, I guess now with flock and flow is a good time. If you have a question, if you raise your hand, it actually pops up on our little server, and we can unmute you and you can ask the question. Or alternatively, if you just want to type it, you can just type into the group chat, and then the boys can all read it. And then, yeah, so now it's, I guess, kind of open regarding flock and flow. If you've got any questions about it, fire away, because this is as good a time as any.
No questions?
No questions. Amazing.
On that note, actually, we're about to did we say tomorrow? We're about to release the video from the last Flock and Flow camp, which we had in
Z Hills.
Yeah, sorry, definitely just a couple of weeks ago. We're definitely going to do that, so stay tuned. Yeah, that's it.
And then we were talking about this. I got to see the artwork as well. Like, we keep calling you guys Flock and Flow. What's the official name now? Because Flock and Flow is an event. What is the name?
Momentum, actually. So tomorrow or later this evening, we'll kind of release our Facebook page and stuff, and then tomorrow the video will be released in the morning U.S. time. So it'll be probably about lunchtime European, and might be a little bit early in the morning in New Zealand. But when you guys wake up, the video will be kind of out and ready for you. We're pretty excited to have it, actually.
Yeah, man. I'm lucky enough to see a little sneak peek at it, and it's I'm a little bit biased, but it is sick.
Yeah,
it's really sick.
Yeah, it's really cool. There's some cool stuff, and it's nice, like, even if you're not on that level, to see what you can get to, for sure. Yeah, so it is Flock and Flow by Momentum. Momentum is now the company name, and that video comes out. What are we now? So, like, in maybe
probably about a little over 12, so let's call it like 16 hours.
16 hours? Boom. It's definitely worth a watch, for sure. It's probably worth about 5. I've seen it a few times.
Yeah. It's it'll be pretty cool. And with that, we have I see some of the questions.
Yeah.
One of them, Tom, go for it.
So one of the questions from Dave, where did I jump in Minnesota? I actually started jumping in Florida, but when I go home, I will jump at Skydive Twin Cities in Baldwin, Wisconsin, just across the river. Pretty cool little drop zone, some good people out there, and I think they had a pack or a caravan, a little single turbine engine. But fun plane, fun place. Winds are out of the northwest. It smells great.
Yeah.
Cool.
Dates for upcoming events.
There you go.
Next one. So Officially, the next one coming up will probably release the dates tomorrow as well. It will be at Paraclete XP for sure. We'll do that in October, mid-October. And depending on how kind of things go throughout the summer, we may pop up at a couple of different drop zones, but kind of depends on how the situation goes on in the scavenging community, I guess, in the coming months.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I guess the world, we've got to see what happens with the world.
Yeah.
A little bit crazy. Yeah. So did anyone have anything else for the boys for Flock and Flow? Otherwise, we're going to move on to a real legend. He can't find himself. There's no mirror there to see yourself, buddy.
Oh, there's a question. What lessons did you take from Flock Year? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. So Flock Year, just for everyone who doesn't know, Flock Year was basically I was asked to come out as an organizer. There was a group already, so there was no real elimination process for registrations. It was basically whoever signed up and was kind of fit the wing load and canopy criteria we put together, and then we did pretty much only static builds as an introduction into flocking. What lessons did I take from Flock Year? Yeah, so it's a bit of a different format. With Flock Year, we wanted to just get a bunch of people together and introduce them to flocking. That's why it was static builds, one formation, and stuff like that. Whereas Flock and Flow, hence the name, is a lot more dynamic. And in order to do that, in order to facilitate that safely and effectively, we decided to keep the groups as small as possible and have a camera flyer with those small groups, and that gives us the opportunity to work more detailed and more precise. So I guess one of the lessons was to keep the group size smaller in order to be able to look after everyone. And yes, it always makes sense to kind of when the groups are smaller, also look after people's experience level, or make sure that they're kind of on the same experience level, because they may work on the same things, so they can talk about what they're learning on. So that was definitely two of the main lessons. Also, maybe to not go flocking in solid cloud cover. That's also another lesson I learned.
Yeah, really good work there.
Which worked. No off drops on landings, by the way. Flock and Flow, both Flock and Flow events and Flock Year, no one ever landed off. So at this point, we haven't lost anyone. So, and we intend to keep it that way.
It's a good way to keep it.
Yes.
And then there's another question there. Did you guys see that question from Adam after two flocking events? What were some challenges you guys experienced?
So there's a lot of varying challenges we've experienced, and one of the things we've tried to do at Flock and Flow with Momentum is create as best of a product as we can for the students and the customers alike, and more importantly, create a safe product. So there's a lot going into that. The environment we're jumping, the location, having a facility that can accommodate our briefings, our classrooms, our debriefing, and a facility or a location that's going to have good weather. So ultimately, I think one of the biggest challenges is this is a little bit more of a demanding discipline when it comes to facilities and drop zones. So working with each DZ as far as getting this to happen, making sure the participants have that safe environment, but also smaller groups. So because we are in much smaller groups, a more intimate environment, it's a little bit more challenging. We don't have 100 participants to one coach. We have sometimes 5 to 2 with a videographer. So that way the participants can have a proper clean debrief and a good clean video in order for them to learn better from. This being a flocking event and not a contact event, so i.e. crew, it's 100% on each individual. So working with people and kind of breaking through that barrier has kind of been a challenge as well, but a really enjoyable process with it, because everyone is 100% accountability on your own flying. So that's been, I don't know if I'd call that a challenge, but it's been a fun process alongside the challenges that we've been doing. Yeah, I would say finding the right location, right environment, safe landing area, and more importantly, like educational environment that can support the growth and expansion of the sport.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Nice.
One of the challenges for sure was the 70 knots of upper winds that we had on our first camp.
Yeah,
That would be well, it was simple.
that was get out over top, back up a mile, go forward a mile.
Still no
Yeah.
off endings or injuries.
Yeah, very good.
All right.
And
The
then we'll just ask Rom's last one. Do you see this becoming a new discipline in skydiving? I guess a competitive discipline.
Yeah, I would say maybe a competitive discipline, but I think it's a new discipline for sure that people can see and types of jumps that maybe people can do it like drop zones and during boogie stuff. If there's another mat there, we can mute your mic, pal. No.
There can only be one Matt.
Yeah, right.
We want to.
So no, but I think it's something that you'll see it like maybe different types of boogies or maybe something that will be expanded on for sure at regular drop zone events. Because I think something is with proper planning and stuff like that, you can actually do it, especially with the high performance parachutes during normal skydiving activity. You don't even hinder operation, whether it's 2 or even 3 planes. Last year, there's an event in the U.S. Called Carolina Fest, and we were allowed to do flocking jumps, so those leading jumps during the boogie when they were running 3, 4 airplanes.
That's pretty cool.
So I think it's something that for sure you'll see as pop up, just like angle flying, but I don't know if it'll necessarily become a competitive discipline, and I don't think that's where we'd want the sport to or the discipline to go. You know,
I think
the
it's
idea
quite nice to keep it away from that. Like what we talk about is like,
I wouldn't like it to become competitive, at least in my opinion.
yeah,
Who knows? Who knows? We're kind of like, it seems like we're only just starting. We're sort of just scratching the surface. There's always been flocking. Don't get me wrong. There's always been flocking, but to make it dynamic and with high performance parachutes, like I think we're kind of just testing the waters there a little bit, and maybe something will evolve from that might be competitive. There's a lot of people who are sort of looking for competitive formats as well, and if they find a way, then for sure. But I think I can speak for all of us when I say that, coming from a competitive background, I very much enjoy myself just doing this for like fun and as a like a team effort and involving everyone again and kind of just like playing and having fun, making it nice and yeah. And so my intention for sure is not to grow a competitive format. It's very much the opposite.
yeah, for sure.
Agreed.
Well, I'm not sure if any, but because this is the free version of Zoom, we only get 40 minutes, so we have 17 minutes left. So we might.
That was fast.
Yeah, goes quick, doesn't it? I'm not even through one beer yet. What's going on?
If you all put your hand up, we can vote for another 40 minutes.
no. So we'll move on now, I guess, to yeah.
One thing I just want to, because I think someone asked a question about how does that affect air traffic. I think that was pertaining to doing multiple jumps or doing jumps during like multiple plane operations and things like that. I mean, if it's planned accordingly and done in coordination with during the boogie, if it's done coordinating with like an air boss or the ground manager, things like that, it can done quite safely depending on what kind of wings you're flying and how you exit and what your flight plan is. But attend the next flock and flow and you'll find out.
Especially because when we get out, our canopies we're pretty much on the ground the same time as, say, a tandem or a student who got out on the same pass. So you're not really in the sky much longer, if at all, to be honest. You kind of you get down and out of the way. I guess in the future, if it starts going to intermediate canopies, that's when things will change a bit. But for sure. Attend one of the events and you'll see how well and smoothly it can be run.
Yeah. There's a question about intercoms as well, which is a good one because we get asked that a lot. We, for ourselves, basically used intercoms to establish all of the dive plans and to work out what spotting and stuff like that we need. So most of the jumps that we do, we've basically done in a little group before we then kind of open them up to just participants of the camp. And that's when we use intercoms to kind of work out what speed we're flying at, what helps everyone to make it more easy. But the thing with intercoms is that most people tend to rely on them, and we decided that that's probably not a good idea to have people rely on the intercom, because if it drops out, if it doesn't work, then it just makes things a little bit more difficult. So for Flock and Flow, we don't have any intercom system. Neither the leaders nor any of the participants use an intercom, because it works quite well without. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And then someone's just quickly asked, what altitude? You just get out and do a hop and pop off the door. You maybe give, depending on what jump you're doing, a 10-second delay.
Yeah. But we want to make sure this is not we're not telling you how to do your next flocking jump after the break. It's very much, please treat this with a lot of respect, because there's a lot of things that can go wrong with flocking. If you don't have most of the answers to perform a flocking jump safely, please come and see us, or see someone who can teach you.
This isn't a coaching seminar. I guess we should just make clear. This is just informal conversation where all of us can have a beer while we're in quarantine together and learn a little bit from a few leads.
Yeah, Moose is here.
Moose. Yeah.
Legend.
Max, maybe we'll move on to you with a little bit of the Red Bull stuff. Obviously, Max is on the Red Bull team. Before we do that, we've got maybe 15 minutes left. If you guys have a question, you don't have to type it as well. If you want to speak, if someone puts their hand up, someone put their hand up so the camera can see. Anyone? There. Thank you, Maria. Maria did it. Hand comes up, and then you can unmute your mic and ask the question. So feel free now. We'll loosen it up. Just if you've got a question while we're talking, just have at it. And yes, it's always time for a drink.
Yeah. I think one of the cool things about this Flock and Flow too is this, originated and started just purely from a passion project. And, because of the demand and the desire for the product, we've grown and we've all evolved with it at a moderate pace, making sure not to outgrow in front of us. But, this all started as the three of us having a good time and wanting to do neat stuff and push the boundaries of flocking and share that experience with other people as well.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. All right. I hate to try and cut it, but Max,
Yes.
What
is it?
What's it like being on the Red Bull team? Is it the dream?
It's pretty much the dream, yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for asking.
And that's it. Right. Next topic.
Yeah.
No, for sure. So I've been lucky enough, and Matt's been lucky enough as well, to be a part of the team training and seeing how much goes into building, I guess, the stunts and the projects that you guys do. Just got to see where I'm going with this. Yeah. So the effort and the time you put in, you guys spend a lot of time sort of trying to get to this level. It's been earned. How did you go to get to where you are, I guess, is the main question. Like, to go from Max, the guy who wasn't winning competitions, to there he is. All the ladies want him.
Yeah. Still not winning any competitions, but...
Yeah, but that doesn't matter. No one cares about competitions anymore, bro. You've got the...
I'm going to keep it nice and short so we have time for more stuff to talk about. But basically, if I look back now, I never really worked in order to get to this job. It's basically, I've just been super passionate about jumping, still am, and all money that I ever earned in the sport went directly back into the sport, because I just wanted to try everything all the time and jump as much as possible. And I think probably at one day it kind of was, someone recognized that I'm not like completely useless, and that's how I basically made the team. And then I found out that, so already I knew the guys from the team before as well. So but I had no idea how much work it actually involves and what the work actually looks like. And then after my first year, my view on the whole thing changed a lot and made me realize that there's a lot of training involved, a lot of skills that we don't necessarily gain in normal drop zone operations and stuff like that. And so unlimited minutes.
Yeah, did you just see that?
Oh
Woo!
wow, crazy.
We have unlimited
Okay.
minutes. Yeah, result.
And yeah, so it is amazing. I get to do a lot of things that I would probably normally not, that I wouldn't get to do if I wasn't on the team. But it's also a lot of work, and it involves a lot of training. And yeah, that's it. Does that answer the question a bit?
Yeah, I think it's cool, man, because like Matt would agree as well. We've both been a part of a training camp, and we hang out with you guys, with the team a lot anyway, just on our travels, and to see, I guess, behind the curtain, to see how much work goes, much like Flock and Flow, much like any big project you do, how much work goes into an event. Like everyone sees the polished end result, but they don't see, the grind before that.
Yeah,
So.
I guess everyone, if we make it look easy, then we do our job very well. Like that's basically the whole idea of it, is the finished product, the video or whatever, photos. We're playing, right? But in order to start playing in the sky together, and like you need to train for it, you need to prepare yourself for it, and everyone knows this. You start with as an AFF jumper, you don't even know how to fall stable, and then not much longer you get to do your first two-way, but you need to prepare for it. So it's just basically the same thing for us in order to play in a bit of a crazy environment, or with a lot of people, or to do something that a lot of people would probably consider dangerous. You need to prepare for it, and that's what we do, and we do that very thoroughly. And it is a lot of work, but it's super fun work. So I don't want to say it's bad at all. It is pretty much the dream, back to your initial question.
Yeah. He's living the dream, everyone. We can all be jealous, but just remember, he's also in quarantine right now, like the rest of us. He is only human.
Yes, very human.
Hey, good to see you, Dave. Mr. Lang, looking glorious.
Moose.
Again.
Cool. Did anyone have any? We've got unlimited time now. I know you can sit here all day and talk. I've got enough beers to keep me going for the foreseeable future. So,
And the beginning of the day.
is there any? Did anyone have?
Good day.
Move back on your canopies up, so it's very few jumps. Did you guys read that? If the lockdown lasts for months, are you guys going to go back? If you guys, it's nice to hear you guys, like everyone's voice as well. If you want to, you can unmute your mic and ask the question.
So I think with the canopy, it really depends on the location, the time, and also environment we're jumping in. These are some of the factors that go into, planning these things as well. But, if we're going and landing in a really pretty intense landing area with a different environment, possibly jumping the canopy, may not be, it all depends on the landing area. Most likely, I'm probably going to jump the same parachute. I'm comfortable with all the landing areas that we choose to jump in and areas we choose to jump. But it's good to fly what you know. But if there's an extended period of time, it's never a bad idea to dust off the wingsuit canopy and get to the ground a little bit slower.
Yeah, for sure. I guess you got to think about the different sort of circumstances of what you're in. If you're at your home drop zone and you've done hundreds of thousands of landings there, I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean you can go shred. But if you're comfortable on a wing that you've jumped a lot, for sure, then I would quite happily, after a 3-month hiatus, jump my Petra again. But I don't need to necessarily go run it over the pond and push it as hard as possible. I can just be smart about how I'm going to fly that canopy. These canopies are super fast for sure, but you can fly them a bit slower. If you can dial off, you don't need to be charging 100%, 110% all the time. I think that's the best way, is probably jump for the most part, and unless it was a really long time, jump the same canopy and just dial it back.
3 months is a really long time.
Yeah. Well, it depends if you're living the dream all the time, some of us have real work to do,
Yeah.
But Chris brought up a good point, though. You don't have to charge 100%. My favorite example or relation is you can have like a CBR 1000, but that doesn't mean you need to do 200 miles an hour down the freeway. We know we're gonna, but you can go the speed limit and manage the power, manage the speed, and be safe and appropriate and be a civilized citizen on the road. But a lot of times when you got a high performance machine, that's not the intended purpose. So a lot of that comes down to self-assessment, but also truthful self-assessment. So, are you really current? Are you really aware of your parachute and your currency? Are you aware of being uncurrent and what that does and how it affects you as a pilot? So, we're all adults here, we're all grown-ups, but at the end of the day, we got to keep ourselves and our friends in check and kind of sometimes pump the brakes a little bit and make sure we get to have another beer another day.
This is very true. Cheers to that. Look, guys, we've been graced with one of the legends, Marco First.
Yeah.
Graced us with his presence. What a legend. In fact, unmute, because now I'm going to ask going on. I'm unmuting you, Marco. You there?
Moose's smile went up.
No.
Did he just leave on purpose?
No, he
Oh,
came
no.
back.
There it is.
No, I guess from that, I guess we're...
Marco was part of the
And now, yeah.
Yeah, there he is.
Oh, good. Cheers.
Cheers, buddy.
Cheers.
I guess a question for everyone. Like now we kind of have this experience and knowledge. We should probably drink, actually. What's your guys? What's your mistakes? What's your fuck ups? What have you learned from, I guess, in your career that you think would be handy to pass on to some people watching?
Oh, I think kind of like going to like what Tom just said of kind of like not dialing back. Like sometimes you jump into things and you don't really realize how much it's really responsible to kind of just dial back and understand that it's really easy to kind of get ahead of yourself and try and take off right where you left off. But I mean, if you do take like some sort of a hiatus or you do take some sort of a break to make sure that you kind of self-assess and dial it back. I mean, I found myself. Sorry.
Is that he's?
Hey, Clash.
But I think I've caught myself not dialing it back before in the past, and I think it's super important to make sure that you do that.
You
do.
We do.
Yeah, that one. For me, at least.
No, for sure. Marco, seeing as we've got you, what would you? Marco's also on the Red Bull team.
What's the question for me or what?
Like what have you learned, like in a mistake, maybe something big or it might be small, but a mistake that you've done in your career and you've definitely learned, and that could be quite helpful to pass on.
Honestly, from demo jumping last year, we did Max and I. We had a pretty interesting demo jump in where was it? Sweden, Max. So we did actually a two-way landing, and actually we planned a lot. It went a lot in training into it, and the plan was to land into a certain landing area, but the wind was quite strong and wasn't really good for a team landing.
Two ways.
For two ways. So I had to land in front of the crowd, or basically I flew a little bit into it, but nothing happened. So
Were you following Max by any chance, Marco?
I learned actually if you have a plan and the conditions are not too good, you should stick to a safer plan and go for the safer option for sure.
Yeah. And how low did Max put you on this demo? Like.
Yeah, that's another point.
Like,
That's a different point. That we learned it. We learned it at Block and Flow. Huh?
Yeah. I learned when following Max, just add 100 feet and you're perfect.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Yeah, no, cool, for sure. I guess if people know me from working in Voss, I landed on the mountains, not once, but twice. And then mine was I own those mountains. Well, I don't. There's parts of me left up there, but no, I had a bad crash. I broke my back. I was fortunate, like it wasn't too serious. But I remember when I did it beforehand, and I think the world we live in now more so with all the social media, is you're kind of chasing this amazing video when you get to a higher level. But I mean, who for really is what I learned. I was pushing and pushing to win a contest that didn't exist, I think, which is how I managed to sort of fuck myself up. And it sucked. So I guess what I learned was like, and actually, because we come back to the flock and flow all the time, but like how flock and flow is for fun and learning and being safe and whatnot. That's what the sport's all about. So it doesn't really matter if you have the GoPro shot or if you have it. I think for me was mainly just do it for yourself and enjoy it. And I think that's after that crash, I started to not take camera anymore. I didn't really care if I had that money shot. As long as I had the memory, that was enough. So I guess, yeah, mine would be just thinking like, it's not a competition. And even if you do a cool video, I mean, it's famous for about a week, maybe. So, I mean, except the flock and flow video that's coming out in a couple of days, that's going to be good for like, it's going to be solid. Don't you guys worry about that. But yeah, like, this online fame is fleeting. So just mainly do it for yourself and do it for fun and be safe is what I learned a lot from when I broke my back back in 2011. What about you, Legend? Any answers to Legend as well?
I don't really know. I don't really know if there's like one main thing, but I think something really important is like ask for advice and then like kind of choose wisely what you get out of that advice. Like get as much information as possible. Like for me, I don't know, I made a lot of mistakes, just making obvious mistakes. And then afterwards I talked to someone else about it and they said, oh, I've done exactly the same thing. And so these mistakes that someone made previously already, they would have saved me a lot of time and probably pain and all of that as well, and money. So it's kind of like, for me, I'd say like get as much information as possible, but be careful with who and why. Like if information you didn't ask for is not necessarily worth a lot. So I guess it's kind of like about being selective with what you pay attention to. Like a good example, for example, would be packing tips. You know, there's like, I mean, if you're a girl and you have like 20 jumps and you're hot and you're in the packing mat by yourself,
then Max is going to pack your canopy for you.
No, I'll do it. Yeah. So it's a different scenario. Everyone's going to try to help you, and you might not necessarily get the most out of it. But for example, when I jumped my Petra in the beginning, I kind of thought I'm a good packer, so I'll be okay, and then made a couple of mistakes, and it cost me, just time and whatever. And that could have been easily avoided by just asking someone who has previous experience with it. And I guess the only reason why I didn't do it was because I had some sort of ego and I didn't want to really acknowledge the fact that maybe I'm not ready to pack a parachute like that when I first got it. So that's like yeah.
Cool. Back up
A really good point. Yeah. I was getting packing help all the time when I first started, and now I realize why.
I would have helped you.
Did anyone have a question? Or any question at all? Anyone watching? You can unmute your mic and fire away if you want.
How about the participants? We got a lot of recent and Paraclete participants watching.
There's one from Rupert for you, Max. Mr. Connell, what mistakes did you make crashing your Petra, Max?
All of them.
You name it, man. You name it. Well, first of all, it's like the whole sizing thing, like what fits into what container and why and all of that. And then I burnt the tail on my canopy a couple of times with my full RDS. That was definitely something after then talking to, I think Nick Batch actually gave me some advice, and then that changed things a lot for me and made it, just protected, or just had better openings, more consistent openings. the whole, I guess, classic mistakes are wrapping the tail, and Artem, your
mic is on.
yes, just things like that. It's basically the kind of like the classic mistakes, and I see them now everywhere. So one of our photographers, videographers from the last camp had a week before the camp jumped a wing he hasn't jumped before, and basically applied some of those classic mistakes to his packing as well, and believe it or not, lost the canopy. And so yeah, these mistakes, a lot of people have made the same mistakes, and just because I didn't ask for it, I didn't get that help, and it would have just saved me a lot of time. And it's just a basic example, really. It's I guess everyone knows. I guess everyone made that same experience. Yeah.
I think I told you about this. Hayden here. Just a
Oh,
sec.
wow. Okay.
Right, that should be better.
Hayden? No.
I'm not sure what's going on there. But Hayden here. Oh, I'm getting reverb. Someone else go.
Hey man, you can mute everyone as the administrator.
Yeah, no, for sure. But it's
Mute yourself. It'll stop.
And you can just unmute Tom and Max, you know?
they're already. Yeah, no, we're good. That's all good. Yeah, no. What I was going to say, because it seems good now. Hayden Galvin jumped. Did I tell you about that, Max? He jumped his 69 Petra for the first time, and he's an experienced pilot. You know, he jumps layers. He's done 1,000. He's jumped some of the original ZP Petras. No worries. And then just the change in material, he jumped it. Very first jump, cutaway.
Mm.
So, and all it took was because no one really told him what to do, and then he asked me, and I gave him 10 seconds worth of advice. It's not revolutionary, nothing crazy. It was just, just do this. And then next jump, done. Perfect.
They are your 10 minutes of advice, though, you know, so
10 seconds, bro.
10 seconds, I'm sorry.
Yeah, 10 seconds.
I would say cutting away or not cutting away, that's pretty revolutionary.
Yeah. I'm cutting edge here. Oh, see what I did there? Yeah.
Advice by Chris Stewart, everybody. If
All
you
right.
have any questions, send them to Chris Stewart.
You'll get a 3-word response via email, and it will help you out. They're applicable to every canopy. I think it's smash it in. Yeah.
All he needs is 10 seconds. They'll give it all to you.
I'll give you all 10. Hey, mate, 10 is all you need.
Are there any other questions from some of the participants, things like that?
Yeah. Does anyone have a question for anyone? I have another one eventually, but if anyone has a question now, man, fire away for sure. Like, because we haven't, we have an unlimited cap. We don't want to just go. I mean, you can talk forever, but if you want something, or if you want an answer, or you want to know something, just say, shoot.
The reason we're here for you.
And yeah.
Then I'll jump at once. I know. Isn't Andreas looks like he's pooping.
Who's viewing from the most unique location? Andreas, I feel like you're up there in that location. Where's everyone viewing from?
Where's Moose? Right, let's do a go around. Moose, where are you at?
I just made it to Amsterdam. Just checked into my hotel. I've been flying around in all the big airports, spreading the Corona love.
Nice.
Yeah, nice.
I feel like you're in the bathroom.
We all had our chance to do that the other day. I guess we broke up from Flock and Fly and was like, right, let's spread the love.
Did you go to Boston?
No, we didn't go to Boston. For anyone wondering, Matt Leonard and I, no one's wondering, but I'm going to say it anyway. Matt Leonard and I were supposed to go to Boston to enjoy Paddy's Day, and then they shut it all down. So we did not do that. And then I almost got stuck in America.
I get it.
Yeah, now I was trying to make it up to Boston and got stuck in North Carolina. Not really stuck, but just where it is now. So, yeah, to answer the question, we were kind of quarantined together. Tom's been quarantined since he left Flock and Flow, and I was stuck down in Florida for a week, kind of in self-quarantine, and then made it up here, and now here we are.
What are the rules on the quarantine? Like in New Zealand right now, we've started on Wednesday, so 2 days ago. we're in a full country lockdown. So unless you're like an essential business now in New Zealand, which if you guys follow the Icarus Canopies New Zealand Aerosports newsletters, unless you're an essential business, everyone is shut down. So we're 4 weeks on lockdown, and that is likely to push out as well, unfortunately. So we are all stuck at home. Basically, everyone is at home. What's it like in the States right now?
Man, it's pretty cool. We got people from all over. If anyone's watching kind of like the little chat feed, we have people
Colorado, Italy,
Moscow, Switzerland, Colorado, Michigan. That's not like a real place, but that's fine.
Maine.
Got the Alaska.
Scotland. Yes. Finland.
Yeah.
Port
Oh,
Bragg.
that's pretty cool. I don't know. Charlotte, Denmark, Italy. Hell yeah.
Seattle.
Have people from around the world kind of watching this
Seattle.
and kind of coming together as a community. I mean, this isn't something that anyone's ever seen in the world, everyone's ever seen before. So it's pretty cool to see people from literally all corners of the earth right now. All just kind of
Rom as well.
Land of the beer. Yeah, let's see you guys make an IPA.
Yeah. No, it's awesome, man. Like, this is really what this is all about. Huh? Like, we're all grounded, we're all stuck. So it's nice to see so many people coming together from all over the world. It's really cool. But I have a question for Tom Baker regarding a certain challenge that was held in Copenhagen.
Go on, do tell.
Okay, so for people that don't know, Tom Baker and I and Max also, we were a part of the Swoop Freestyle Swoop Challenge, whatever it's called now, in Copenhagen. I would say the glory days. And then Tom Baker, this is more of a story than anything, just went and broke the rules if anyone wants to know. Tom, please enlighten us with what happened.
Well, to be fair, if there's no rules, you can't break them.
This is very true.
So I got invited to this competition of legends, and I was extremely humbled. Like, I had no clue why I was invited and rah. And my whole mentality is I'm going to come to the show with something people hadn't seen. So we developed the ginger flip. Basically, we backflip through our risers. First, we touch water, touch ground, drag a surface, and then in a 2 to 3 meter window, we continue a backflip through our risers and then land the parachute is the targeted goal. So first competition, I did it. Everyone was stoked. Everyone was awesome, like really excited. Did the ginger flip in the middle of competition. Second competition, I got invited back. I was really thankful and again humbled. And so I just expected that I was going to flip again. Why else am I going to get invited back to this competition? And so I show up, and on a 30-minute call, all of a sudden I get told that I can't flip or do a trick. Now, we did have a meeting about tricks and what we're going to do, and I wrote down my tricks and what I was going to do, but I just didn't speak up or say much. And on that 30-minute call, I was told I couldn't flip, and I kind of laughed. I didn't know how else to respond to that. I'm like, why did I just fly halfway around the world to put on a show for all these people to see? So I played along, did the thing, tried a bunch of tricks that I've never done before ever in my life for the first time in front of thousands of people. And
a bunch of people's faces open, they just laugh at you.
Because I was told I couldn't flip and I wanted to be a good team player. And as we progressed through the rounds, I got really upset and I'll admit a little selfish, but also why I was there, so I don't think it's that selfish. So I declared I was going to do a blind man in the finals round of Swoop Challenge, Swoop Freestyle, whichever it was that year, I don't remember. And I got a little disoriented during that blind man. And as I came around backwards, if you guys want, you can actually listen to Irish's interview of my description of that blind man. It's very thorough because my world flipped upside down as we executed that very, very distinct blind man during the final round when I got asked not to do the flip. But I didn't flip. It was a blind man, and I declared it. And I just flipped upside down in the middle of the city of Copenhagen in a canal out of a beautiful helicopter in front of a lot of people and a couple,
Hey Tom, how was the next year of Swoop freestyle?
I don't know. Can you tell me about it? I wasn't.
Tom was not asked back. But, you
I
know,
was not
they
asked
say
back.
give the trick your own flair. And, man, we've seen a million blind man. So it's nice to see something with a little bit of Baker flair.
My thing is keep freestyle free. Compulsory for compulsory competitions such as speed, distance, accuracy, and all that stuff. Keep freestyle free, my friends.
How'd you figure out the name, by the way, of the trick?
I actually didn't figure out the name. I was just going to call it a backflip, and a local gentleman by the name of Steve Ruley came up on the golf cart with a pleasant 6-pack of Corona. He's like, "Oh my God, that was the name of the ginger flip," and I was like, "Yeah, okay, sweet, ginger flip." So I cannot coin the name ginger flip. That was Steve Ruley, and you know, all the people that actually helped me out here figuring that thing out. Mike Brewer, Jesse Wire, Kirk Werner filming that. It was pretty cool.
Because it wasn't just go. If you haven't seen the ginger flip, where can people watch it, Tom?
So there's on the Instagram page, otombaker.com.
At Tom Baker.
YouTube. There's a few other locations. Just Google ginger flip. I'm sure it'll pop up.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was pretty
Definitely
cool.
worth checking out for sure. And I guess one of the things is you see, and I think it kind of comes back weirdly in a way, we've managed to bring this back around to Max saying, like, people see the polished end product, but they don't see the grunt work that went into it. And for the ginger flip to become a thing, it wasn't just simply flipping in your risers. You had to make a mod for your setup.
And so it was January, February in North Carolina, which for all of you out there that haven't been here, it was just above freezing. I was running the pond, intentionally landing in the pond every single day. So I was wearing a 3mm wetsuit for about 2.5 months straight. Landing, packing a completely soaking wet parachute, which is highly not recommended against most manufacturers' recommendations. But, you know, it's still open. We did 7 or 8 different riser variations, which our local master rigger and myself, Jesse, and Mike did multiple hanging harness tests. I spent about 3-4 months in the gym, continuously working on my core and just the actual physical skills required to even go through the motion static on the ground, let alone at 75+ miles an hour, including the G forces and the recovery arc. So all things involved. It was about a 2.5-3 month R&D process just to even bring it to the ground. I did multiple tests up high at altitude in case I got tangled up, in case there was some sort of malfunction, having a videographer flying relative to me to see what kind of inputs going up, going down, and making sure, obviously I didn't stall out the parachute, but also, you know, didn't grab the front risers onto the ground. That would be a bad day. So lots of R&D and lots of safety precautions were actually genuinely taken in that process. And then good boost to fuck it and huck it to get it around.
A massive cojones as well. Because if I'm not wrong, you did it above the ground as well, which was not seeing that video, just like, yeah, the dude's cooked.
There's
sorry, Marco just sorry before you. Marco just sent me a link, which he only sent to me, but I've just shared the link on Facebook of Tom Baker, Ginger Flip. So if you're in the chat and you want to have a look, just click that link, and you'll be able to see the beautiful creature that is Baker doing the ginger flip. The only person, I believe, to have done it.
So I've got video of one guy in South America almost getting a full rotation into water. Basically, like as he came around 360, he impacted water, but for sure with a standard harness, not a mutation or any sort of hip harness, but with a standard skydiving harness, to my knowledge, no one else has put it to dirt or put it on the ground.
Yeah.
Because it's pleasantly exciting.
Yeah. Were you, Max, at Dubai one year, and Yuri, Russian Yuri, he went to do it as well. He popped up and got halfway around and basically stalled upside down and grabbed his rears on his... So we were at this competition in Dubai, DIPC. We do freestyle at the end, and everyone just goes and basically it's freestyle. You go do what you want. One of the Russian competitors, Yuri, he goes and decides he's going to do a flip. And he's swooping and he pops it up and he goes to do the flip and he gets stuck halfway around and just can't get anything happening. He ended up stalling the canopy and just doing like a bomb into the pond, like a big splash. And yeah, he didn't actually do it, but he gave it a go. He did win an iPhone though from the Prince. So that was when the Prince gave a shit about skydiving.
There's actually some questions that just popped up.
I think I want a beer at the bar after I
There's
did it.
Yeah, go for it.
From Michael. Are there any entry flocking events coming up in the eastern U.S.? I got my taste at Q Boogie in Jumptown. Haven't had a chance to flock with people since due to lack of high performance pilots and the weather in New England. I came in late to the conversation. Might have missed if it was mentioned before. It's actually my old home drop zone, and there's in like eastern U.S. like we'll do one in XP in the fall. So I have the dates actually right here. We're gonna publish them in the next week, but it's about mid-October. I can look up the dates. We'll publish them afterwards, but mid-October will be pretty much an XP, so eastern U.S. But yeah, come out, check it out. And the next one, will there be any flocking events in the EU? Max.
Sorry, I gotta.
He's like, I wasn't paying attention.
It's like he just giggles at himself and no one knows what's going on.
So he's putting a bottle of wine too deep.
Yeah.
So the plan is right now we're gonna hopefully branch out into the EU market and stuff like that. So Max will be kind of helping us facilitate a lot of that stuff coming up in the next year or so.
We're trying to have as many events as possible within a reasonable amount, but this honestly, I feel like we had this idea and it worked out really well, and the demand for it is very high. So it just takes a little bit of time for us to prepare everything, but there will be a lot more events in the future. Don't worry, there's going to be one near you as well. It's just right now there's not much happening anyway, but our intention is to build it very slow and thoroughly and make it clean and make sure everyone's looked after, and so therefore we don't offer 100,000 flock and flows events as of yet, but it's going to happen and we'll definitely keep you posted.
Yeah, you guys, I think, like with the way it's going, you'll know there'll be with only a handful of events a year. Yeah, they're going to be made a big deal, and they'll be made pretty public for sure. And I would imagine they start filling up extremely quick. And I hear a rumor that potentially they might be coming down under one day.
Maybe.
Yes, for sure. I mean, we really in the beginning when Matt and I had this, when we kind of started this idea, it was very much the intention of making blocking a boogie compatible format. So you have free flyers, you have belly jumpers, you have angles, and then why not have flocking as well? So that was like the very start of doing the flock and flow camps. And now we find that obviously with growing the discipline and all of that, we really need to make sure that we get a bunch of people together and educate from the very beginning and sort of start the whole process. And as we get more pilots who already have experience and cheers, yeah.
You don't need any more, Max. Put it down. Put it
You have
down.
a Four Loco?
Is that Michael? Does Michael have a Four Loco?
Michael, what you got there?
Oh,
he's
no,
got a
it's
90 minute.
Okay.
Okay, sorry. I thought someone was going hard. So.
I'm not crazy enough. I don't drink that shit anymore. I can't take it.
Yeah, but that 90 minutes rocket fuel, that's like 8.5%.
Well, I mean, it's after a Guinness.
I mean, that's 8.2.
Marco,
Sorry.
what are you drinking? Is it alcohol or gin and tonic?
Yeah.
Gin and tonic. I thought so. I saw the lemon in there. Good choice. Moose, what are you on?
He's on the water.
Fucking orange juice.
Oh, what a goddamn athlete. What an
And
athlete.
vodka.
With vodka.
Vodka was vodka.
To answer one of the questions, I think there was another one. What's the event called name? It's for the one in XP, it'll be Flock and Flow. That's kind of where we originally started the project last year, and we're going to bring it back there in the fall this year. It's gonna be pretty rad. So,
are you guys though? We were talking about this. This is a good time to announce that. I guess you've made a page. You made a page for Momentum, have you?
Yeah, we did. So we just we haven't really invited anyone to it yet, but
then copy that link and stick it in the chat.
Called Momentum. Is he chugging wine? Yeah, he is. What a legend. It's
honestly, my battery's almost flat, so I gotta go and get my charger. I will wrap this up real quick.
Okay.
Yeah, it's gonna be called Momentum. So if you search on Facebook, you can look up Team Momentum Flight, and it should pop up because that's like the handle, the way that Facebook handles it. But we're gonna launch the video through there tomorrow. So if you follow that, you'll be able to see it. But
do you want to grab that link and stick it in the chat?
We will
do that.
That's a really great idea.
If you guys are, for everyone that has questions about it, for sure, like this is going to be the best sort of platform to follow it. You'll see all the events and any updates that the boys have got. Flock and Flow by Momentum.
I think one thing to reinforce as well is, people are asking about, are we going to do a Flock and Flow Europe? Are we going to do another one on the East Coast and a few other locations? One thing we're trying to protect is our respect for the discipline and the knowledge. This isn't a competition, but surely, like I mentioned before, this is a passion project. So one thing we're trying to do before, is make sure we don't expand too much. We want to keep everything that we've gained, we've learned, and we've cultivated, and make sure that's shared and taught appropriately before we just try and disperse it everywhere and with everyone. Again, we want to make sure that we have a clean professional camp that everyone is happy to be a participant in and happy to support as well before, we just don't want to grow too fast and be like a Walmart or something.
Like a Walmart.
Very cool. Sweet. Did anyone have any questions at all about anything? I feel like, I could keep smashing beers all day and just ramble with the boys.
We could just let everyone else just eventually keep going, because pretty much as soon as we end this conversation, nothing's going to change anyway. So
yeah, more or less.
But actually, I don't know. I feel like there's quite a few people that have some experience also in other areas too. That I know Marco actually mentioned his about kind of the landing scenario and stuff like that, which actually reminded me of this one time I was also following Max.
Yeah, anecdote time.
Where I was.
I like your altitude.
It was a little low. Just saying. And then next thing I knew, I was flying through a tree. So yeah. So not his fault, mine.
Yeah.
Pretty
exciting.
It goes on to what kind of reminds you of keeps you in check, right? So you're following a friend or you're doing something you trust, and that was the plan. But this isn't on Max. I'm just going to give him shit. This is totally on me, by the way.
And a little bit low
if you can,
perfect.
It's perfect. Yeah.
Although he doesn't or he doesn't mention the tree part, but it's okay. It's
tree lives matter.
Yeah, right. So it's no, but it humbles you in a certain way of kind of man, just because you're charging hard doesn't mean you have to kind of self-check and reevaluate and back up everything. And kind of look at the big picture. So kind of a joke, but also very serious at the same time. But yeah.
It's pretty funny, actually. I remember looking back and just seeing Matt fly into a tree. It's pretty entertaining to watch. Nothing bad really happened, which is why it's even funnier. But yeah, it was... It turns out if you're following someone, you still have to look for yourself. You cannot just
trust is good, but if you're able to check, it's even better.
Yeah. Trust is good. Total trust is dangerous.
Michael's got the right idea. Turn this chat into a drinking game. Every time someone says legend, you have to take a drink.
Legend.
Every time someone raises their hand, we drink.
I need something to drink.
We've got 2 hands over here from Alan.
There he is. There he is.
Oh, he's in.
I gotta say, this 90-minute is pretty harsh.
Yeah.
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 Oh, that's why I didn't bother showing up till the end.
Oh,
We
right.
use the expression "you're like a blister." You don't show up till the work is done.
And maybe we can get everyone to turn on their video, and we'll just like quickly have everyone say hi. That'd be
Yeah,
awesome.
let's do that because I think we're
I
kind
like-
of approaching the
I
end.
like how more people drink, like the more mics get unmuted.
Right. So if everyone unmutes and turns on their video, we're going to do
Yeah.
an international cheers.
Cheers,
I don't have a
Raj.
drink.
Everyone turn them on. If you don't have a drink, pretend you do. We'll only judge you.
Awesome.
Looking at everyone, I'm missing some stuff here.
Oh, there's Danny. Hi, Danny.
This is Maddie.
Maddie. Hey,
Awesome. Awesome.
Maddie, what a fun.
I want to see all of the screens. Snelly, come on.
Oh, is that B-boy? What's he? He's driving straight. He's driving straight.
Oh. We got like 2 full pages of screens. Wow.
But what we need is
Yeah.
Look at all these
Here we
people
go,
out of
Dan.
nowhere.
Snelly.
Ellen.
Yeah,
this is way more
Oh,
exciting,
John.
guys.
Who's the fourth?
Yeah.
Who's
Hey,
the
we're
fourth?
out of time.
Yeah, open the mics, go for it. And also,
You guys.
Matt,
All right, cheers, everybody.
well, yeah, guys, thank you everyone
Cheers.
for being a part of this and joining us. There'll be more
Cheers.
webinars. And cheers to everyone.
There he is. All right.
Cheers.
Yeah, Matt.
Dan Miller. Is that moonshine? You got
Cheers,
moonshine?
guys. Thank you very much for joining, and we'll see you next time.
Natasha.
Cheers.
Who else is here? Awesome.
How you doing,
Yeah.
everybody?
I'm going to shut it down. Everyone have a good time. Be safe. Stay indoors and all that.
Pandemic, guys.
Bye.
Like that. That's
Bye.
awesome. Yeah.